Live from Twitch.tv, it's Vtuber Talk. This week our guest is Airi. It's all about to begin on Vtuber Talk. Hello and welcome to Vtuber Talk. I'm your host Jay and thank you so much for joining us this evening. For those of you who haven't been here before, Vtuber Talk is designed after classic late-night talk shows. Everything here is live, casual, and the goal is to simply have fun and just entertaining conversations that will be enjoyable for anyone who is already familiar with the guest while still being accessible for new fans. That's my fancy way of saying that anyone can tune in and have a good time. I do not do this show for profit, but donations are always appreciated and they are always split 50-50 with the guest. So, today, the day of this broadcast is March 12th, 2021. And it's a bit of a special day in the VTuber community. Today is the 6-month anniversary of Hololive EN's debut. Now, whether or not you are a fan of Hololive, whether or not you actively follow any of their talents, if you are in the VTuber community, you cannot deny their importance in this space. I don't necessarily think that, Hololive should be the aspiration of every VTuber, certainly not. I don't think that Hololive stands above other VTubers or content creators, but given their sheer scale, there is a very real level of significance to them as it pertains to the rest of the community, and namely in that they helped broaden the community. They helped increase the number of people who are VTubers, who are fans of VTubers. I know that, goodness, without Hololive, this show would not exist. That Hololive is what dragged me into the rabbit hole. So I am one of many, many people who fall into that category. And so even if you are not, a super big follower of Hololive, I think it is pretty significant that we are now, it's strange in some ways. It feels like it's been much more than 6 months. It feels like it's been 2 years in some ways. And in other ways, it feels like just yesterday that the 5 girls of Hololive EN had their debuts. It's really just a fascinating and exciting thing to see that, 6 months ago, Gargura did not have any subscribers on YouTube. And at the current going rate, in about 2 to 3 months, she will be the largest VTuber on YouTube. And, we have the second round Hololive EN auditions ongoing. We'll probably have the second round of their talents debuted before the year is out. And it's a good time to be a VTuber and a VTuber fan, because for as many viewers as they bring into their own channels, they bring in viewers to the community as a whole. I know so many people, myself included obviously, start with Hololive, but then start exploring more. You start looking for more VTubers, you get to know the community, you realize how special this community is, and you just fall ever deeper into the rabbit hole that we know and love. So, hats off to Hololive, everyone from Yago all the way down, Genma, Enma, the talents themselves, of course. While not all of them are in front of the scenes, I certainly know that it takes a very significant team effort to put on the level of production that they put on for their fans, and it's really nice that they have helped, for lack of a better term, broaden the market. They've brought more people in, and I certainly know that VTubers across the board have seen an uptick in their viewership. At least from what I've seen since the debut of Hololive EN, and I think that is just going to continue. So, hats off to Hololive, Callie, Amelia, Gura, Ina, and Kiara. Congratulations. I look forward to seeing their continued success and the continued success of everyone in the VTuber community as a whole. Now, I think that is quite enough of me rambling on, because we have another VTuber here who I am so excited to speak with. Please welcome my guest for this evening, Airi. Airi, thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Hello everyone. Thank you for having me.
Please let me know, everyone in chat, if the volume settings are good. Want to make sure that the BGM and Airi herself, of course, are able to be heard as clearly as possible. So far, it doesn't think like I've been blowing up anybody yet, so fingers crossed that things are as they should be. But while I wait for the chat response, Airi, again, thank you so much for being here tonight. Obviously, there's going to be a number of people in the chat who are familiar with you already, but for those of you who aren't, please let us know a bit about you. It can be anything regarding your lore, the type of content you make. Obviously, we'll get into a lot of that as we go, but what do you think the basics are for people who are just meeting Airi?
Right. So I think the basics are that, well, every VTuber has their little quirk, I guess. I am a magical girl, and I'm here to make my friends happy, and that's my model. I just try to stream games that I have fun with. I try to bring fun to other people, try to bring smiles to people's faces, and just trying to have a fun, wholesome time. Stream a lot of mahjong, stream a lot of indie games, try to showcase them, give the indie game developers some love, and that's what I've focused on my stream.
One moment, I'm being told that you are a little bit soft. Let me bump you up a tiny bit. Could you talk just a little bit more?
Right. So I guess I'll say it again. Every little VTuber has its own little quirk. I am a magical girl. I am here to make my friends happy, and that's what I try to focus on my streams. I try to stream games I have lots of fun with. I try to keep the stream very wholesome, very light, and very positive. And I stream a lot of mahjong. I stream a lot of indie games. I try to give the indie game developers lots of love, showcase their games, and
yeah, you were showcasing a fun-looking game earlier that I definitely want to talk about. For the folks in the chat, is Airi sounding better now?
Hope so.
As we wait, but I guess for now, we'll, alright, a bit more. I'm going to bring down the BGM a tiny bit. Not able to bring you up too much more now, but I've bumped you up a fair bit, and I will now wait for chat to tell me if you are too loud, but otherwise, let's go on and get the show on the road. So, sort of just for starters, your mama and papa, your papa is Kitty Loafers, and your mama is Sarah Hana99 on Twitter, respectively. Yes. So, were there any particular inspirations or asks that you had for your model? How much of this was a creation of your own mind versus a collaboration with your mama? If you could, I suppose, give us a bit of insight into your model.
So, at the beginning, I guess I'll just talk a bit about my model's history itself, I guess, since there's actually a lot of story behind that, if that's okay.
Oh, please.
I started streaming with a custom 3D model I made myself on VTube Studio, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't very high quality, and eventually people told me about the VTuber community, so I looked up a few more people and asked some questions, and eventually people told me about FaceRig, and I got FaceRig and tried it a bit, and I noticed it had a Steam community workshop. So my first actual live 2D model wasn't actually of Vitae, the character that most people know me by nowadays. It was actually a character that I love very much from the Toho series. It was Tatara Kogasa, and it's a character I love a lot. And by chance, an artist named Toribako had made a live 2D model of her, and it was on the community workshop, so I used that for a long time. But anyways, that's a bit in the past. Regarding my current model, the design for it, I got some inspirations from Soul Calibur 6, Hunter x Hunter, the anime, and your usual magical girl animes.
Yeah,
And
the bow in particular has always stood out to me, and bows are definitely a staple of magical girl fashion. But sometimes on the head,
yes.
sometimes it's on the back. But I very much like your bow. I like your design in general. It's very nice. I like the gold accents. I think it goes really well with the purple and your hair. I certainly know. On your Twitter, you actually have a full concept art image pinned to your profile. And that was useful for me because when I'm preparing the show, I always put the guest name in colors that are relevant to their model. And yours included the hex codes. So I didn't have to go around guessing of where the correct shade of purple was for this. So I was able to just punch in the numbers and letters. So thank you for that.
Yes. Um, so yeah, that reference sheet was actually made by my, I guess the way we call him and he refers to himself as is my godfather, I guess, because he's the one who helped me make the design, make me like finalize the design, I suppose.
Yeah.
And so together with VT Ozzy, that's his name, we made the design from a few pictures I had, and then then he also made a reference sheet, and eventually I got a live 2D model of Airi.
Fantastic. And the BGM that we're listening to right now is by Runamoth. Um, it's it's a very different sounding BGM that it has the heavy snaps in the background going consistently. It almost feels it's slightly jazzy, I suppose, which isn't inherently a style that you would associate with magical girls, but I think it fits quite well. What drew you? Well, I suppose the better question is, uh, did you collaborate with Runamoth on this particular BGM, or did you have particular requests, or did you find it and felt that this was the one for you?
So, what we actually did, Dunamoth was very kind. They made a giveaway post for a BGM, and well, I luckily won, and I got to work with her on the background music, and she took my inputs, and my inputs were Snail's House and other similar um, sort of just the general kawaii music, I guess. Kawaii
Hmm.
with, and yeah, that's what we came up with. I also sent her some music from DOVA Syndrome. It's very common
Yeah, good old DOVA
website
syndrome.
for
Hey,
VTuber.
that's what I was using as
Mm-hmm.
the pre-show music just a couple minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a very fun BGM, and I always like to have my guest BGM playing when I have someone on because I think it's a real indicator just of their personality and just, you know, themselves as a whole. I was in band throughout my time during school. I've always been a very strong proponent of music in general, so that's one of the really important things, and it's always fun for me to hear the different pieces that each VTuber brings to the table.
Mm-hmm.
So you're on the stream team Iron Lions. Could you tell me a bit about them?
Right. One. So for my first few streams, I didn't actually even know that the term VTuber was something, that there was like a whole VTuber community. And someone found my stream somehow. I don't even know how, but they became my friend and they showed me the the server, Iron Lions, which is Yuma Yamano's Discord server. Um, and it's a very big VTuber community, and it quickly became like my little second family, I guess. And I met a lot of awesome people. In fact, Yamanako Tsubasa, who's here in the chat, I met them as well through there and made so many friends. It was very important to me. And eventually, Yuma opened up a Twitch team, which, yeah, they opened up applications. I applied, and I have had a lot of fun being in the team.
That's
It's
fantastic.
very. Mm-hmm.
So, how many people are on the Iron Lions currently? I checked the list, at least according to what is registered on Twitch, and it's actually on the larger side of teams.
Yeah, there. We actually had a lot of people. A lot of people applied. The server is very, very big. Has a lot of VTubers for sure, and a lot of people joined. But eventually, Yuma closed applications, and now I don't think anyone else is getting in, as far as I know. And
Gotcha.
I don't keep up with that much more.
Well, I will be sure to get the Discord link from you, and I'm going to include that in the YouTube link or the YouTube description once this is uploaded a couple days from now. You've also mentioned that you have what you call your big sister VTuber, Alicia Morganite. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Is it Alicia?
It's Elika. Elika Morganite, yes. So I met Elika from when I was streaming Cook Servalicious 3. It was a lot of fun, and she found my stream, and we quickly became very close. And a lot of people don't realize that we're not blood sisters, but we're so intimate, we're so close. We're always doing stuff together. Our communities are very intertwined, I guess. And yeah, we're pretty much like sisters.
And did you know them prior to VTubing, or did you meet, I suppose, through the community?
No, we actually met through Twitch.
Fantastic. Yeah, just frankly, one of the reasons that I started the show, plain and simple, is because I wanted to help just myself make friends. I wanted to obviously, help other people learn about awesome VTubers, but that's the selfish part of this show for me. It allows me to meet awesome people like you.
Yeah, meeting people. Meeting people's always fun. I really do love making friends, talking to people. It's always a nice experience.
Yeah. So you obviously stream regularly. You've been playing several games this past week alone. You had it was a Hollow Knight run, I believe. No, sorry. It was a Hollow Knight run. There was the Void Reigns Upon Her Heart, and
Right?
I'm blanking on the game that you've been playing the past couple days, but it is sort of a Slay the Spire card game deck builder. If you could please remind me of the title. I didn't write it down.
It is Vault of the Void.
Vault of the Void. Yes, you've been playing that one for the past couple days. It's looked really cool. I myself am a Magic the Gathering player, so I'm really into deck builders and that type of card strategy. It definitely looks like a game that I will have to look into for myself, but I know in this particular case, you're actually doing sort of a coordinated promotion along with the developer, that you were provided a key for it and that they know that you're playing their game.
Yeah, so I usually try to contact the developers, and they always are very receptive towards me wanting to play their games and doing that sort of thing. And I'm always happy to promote their games, and if I find them fun, of course I'll say it. And a lot of people usually end up playing alongside me, so I find that very cool. But yeah, I've been playing that game, Vault of the Void. It's been a lot of fun. A deck builder roguelike sort of game, and it's very fun. And you also mentioned Hollow Knight. Yeah, that game is a good game, a very good game. I really love the ambience in it. I love the setting, the lore, the gameplay mechanics. It's all very fun, and I did my first playthrough. Everything all recorded on Twitch. It was a very fun experience. A lot of people really enjoyed watching me, experience the game for the first time. And I always think those experiences are nice to share too on Twitch.
Yeah. Looping back to Vault of the Void for a minute, do you play other deck builders a lot? That, like I mentioned, I play Magic the Gathering. Have you ever dabbled in that game, or did you play Slay the Spire back in its sort of heyday?
I played both. I've played both. I play Slay the Spire from time to time. Same for Magic. I do enjoy Magic a lot. I used to play tabletop way back. I mean, I think it was when Cons of Turkey came out. That was a long time
Oh,
ago.
funny enough, that's about when I started.
Oh, I see, I see. Yeah, I played that. I played back then.
Yeah,
But then I had to resort to Arena, the online version.
yeah, that everyone has had to just sort of accept Arena as the primary Magic the Gathering play platform for the past year for obvious reasons. Yeah, I normally play draft myself, so limited. I enjoy the constructed environment, but something about the strategy of the actual drafting of the cards and then the limited deck building resources has always very much appealed to me.
Yeah, Limit is very fun. I've always enjoyed drafting the most as well. Although constructed is sort of fun. The problem is
You can
how
get
it
in
can get.
degenerate play patterns.
Yeah, it gets very very samey very fast
Yeah.
as people figure out the meta.
Yeah, that's exactly why I don't really play that often on constructed. But still, I enjoy like watching the coverage because it's always cool to see the top players piloting the top decks, even if there is a lot of consistency in terms of archetypes. Just the raw skill level, I do enjoy watching that, even if I don't enjoy playing those formats quite as much.
Yeah, it's very fun. People think, well, the deck kind of plays itself, but it's really interesting to see how very small decisions can make such a big impact, and why a top player is a top player.
Yeah, I remember there's a player by the name of Autumn Burchett who won a very large tournament. It was probably about a year and a half, 2 years ago now. And they were playing this mono blue deck, and the commentators themselves were saying that the play lines they were taking were so just finessed and well thought out, and they were like, I see 3 lines here. I don't know which is best, but Autumn just took this line, and they're about to win the game. And they saw through something and correctly guessed something in an opponent's hand, and just that's the type of skill that you see from really, really top tier players. And
For sure.
I know that you are a very high tier player yourself, not necessarily not in Magic the Gathering, but in another card quote unquote game, and that would be mahjong. That
Right,
mahjong
mahjong.
I know is very near and dear to your heart. That in addition to all the video games you play and all of the newer games, you are also a huge fan of, for lack of a better term, traditional games. So games that existed prior to video games. That you play mahjong, you play shogi, you've been dabbling in Go, but mahjong is your main game. Really, that's the one that's near and dear to your heart. There was a Twitch clip that was on your Twitter that I saw of you. You were positively giddy. You just were so happy, so animated.
Yes, I
That
remember.
going
I
through a
know
particular.
exactly what you mean. I know exactly what clip you mean.
So I myself know a bit about mahjong. I was taught to play American mahjong by my grandmother. So for those who aren't familiar, American mahjong is well, I suppose it might actually be easier to describe traditional mahjong first. Traditional mahjong, and do correct me on anything that I say that is incorrect here, Airi, is somewhat similar to the card game Rummy, where you are
Yes.
trying to get sets and runs of tiles, that you're trying to get match sets and runs. American mahjong is somewhat similar, but there is a preset, prescribed set of hands that you can potentially go for, and they print a different card, as they call it, because it's a card that has the list of all the possible hands every single year.
Yes. I believe that's the case.
Whereas traditional mahjong does not have those restrictions, that it is just you're trying to get the 3, 4 of a kinds, or get the runs, or get certain sets of special tiles. I don't know. I've been taught to play traditional mahjong, but it's been a while since I've played, so I can't remember all of the terms. I know Kong, Pong, a couple of the others, but I would not be able to have a a very in-depth conversation, so please educate me and any of the viewers who might not be familiar with mahjong on traditional mahjong, and a bit about what drew you to it.
Right. So I guess I can talk a little bit about how I got into mahjong first, and then I'll
Sure.
talk a little bit about the game and how it became so dear to me. I was in a haiku and senryu Discord, which was a Discord about it's about Japanese poetry and literature, right? Haikus.
Mm.
And the admin of that server, we became close friends. As I shared my poetry. And then one day he showed me a picture of him playing a mahjong in a real life club with other people, and I was curious, oh, what is this game? The tiles are so pretty, because in this game you don't really play with cards, you play with actual tiles.
Yeah, they're usually
they're small little. Yeah,
yeah,
small
they're
little,
nowadays made with like glass or ceramic, but they're just beautifully done. All the different suits there are engraved. Obviously, way back in the day, they'd be handmade, these sets, and even nowadays, picking up a really nice set of tiles can be kind of expensive, but they're sort of works of art unto themselves. So you get what you pay
they
for.
really are. They are so beautiful, and they're practical. You literally get to play with them, so it's definitely something very exciting. I love the specific sounds they make when they clack together.
Oh
I know,
yes, yeah.
a lot of people enjoy that.
There's an
But
ASMR thing to do.
yeah, there is definitely an ASMR aspect, especially when I stream. A lot of people say that, oh yeah, I'm gonna watch Airi now to have those glorious ASMR
Tile
mahjong
clicks.
clacking, tile
Yeah.
clacking in the background for sure. But to speak a little bit more about the difference between I guess I could say you said traditional mahjong and American mahjong. There are actually a lot of different regions that have their own little style of how to play mahjong. There's Chinese mahjong, there's Taiwanese mahjong, Hong Kong mahjong.
Oh wow.
I think there's Philippines, Japanese. There's the European Mahjong Association, which is kind of similar to Japanese, and then there's American, which is very different from all of those.
Yeah.
How it originated was the Chinese invented it, then it got imported into Japan, and then someone imported it into America around the 1930s, I want to say. So it's not as old as for example, chess or shogi, but it's definitely that definitely predates video games, of course. And it's very interesting to have all that history behind it, right? But yeah, the one we play usually that you'll see on Twitch is the Japanese variation. Japanese mahjong is what we play. It's called Richi mahjong, and I've just always loved it ever since I started playing.
Had you played the card game Rummy at all before? That, like I said, it's not exactly the same, but I feel like that's sort of the closest analogy to a game that larger numbers of people might have played.
I've never actually played it, but I do know how it works, and yeah, it is indeed very similar. You're trying to make sequences of the numbers, and they are limited to sets of 3 cards. And in mahjong, it's the same thing. You're trying to make sequences or triplets of the same of numbers, right? So you want to, for example, make a 1, 2, 3, and when you make 4 of those, 4 of any sequences or triplets, and you have a pair as well, so a total of 14 tiles, you can finally win the game, win the hand.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun because it gets into a lot of complexity of trying to see what's in the other person's hand, because people can steal tiles from each other if they're discarded, and there are a lot of a matter of efficiency as well to try and win as fast as possible.
Yeah. One other really neat, I suppose, mechanic or play phase, as it were, that mahjong has is the passes. as they're called, that before you start the normal sequence of play, all the players do a thing where they select 3 tiles from their hand, and then
Right. That
you
is
pass
something
it
that
around the
it.
table.
Mhm. That's something that is only really in American mahjong. That is not something that happens in other variations of mahjong at all.
Oh, okay.
Although, strangely enough, we actually have seen that in Mahjong Soul. I don't think we've seen that in like any competitive setting or any real life clubs of Mahjong. But yeah, we saw it in Mahjong Soul, and it was very interesting. It was very fun to play.
Well, I'm glad I
Very
have you
interesting rule
here to
set.
correct me, because I've played as DJ Chowman reminded me, known as the Charleston. Um, I've used that in the Japanese mahjong games that I've played, but obviously I've never played competitively or anything. So it's enlightening for me to hear how it's actually done, because you're the expert here. So thank you for correcting me, and like that's really neat of just those differences and how the game ends up having these different rules, just because it is so widespread and has touched so many different cultures and communities.
And something else is even in Japanese mahjong, there are a lot of ways to customize it and change things very slightly. And you'd think that oh, you change one little thing and it doesn't make that much of a difference, but I've seen so many times such small differences make such big difference in gameplay,
Yeah,
and
and
it's always
especially,
interesting to see.
yeah, and frankly, the more knowledgeable you are about the game, the bigger the difference it makes. Because in a game like this, the better you get, the more heuristics you learn. And heuristics is basically a term for mental shortcuts. So figuring out patterns in play or optimal strategies. And when you get to that type of expertise and you throw in some just new variable that upsets all the heuristics, so it's actually the most experienced players that can get thrown most off kilter by variations like that.
For sure. Sometimes you're used to something. Um, you're so used to something that a small difference makes it harder to adapt. But I think in mahjong we throughout so much time playing and so much time accumulating and sharing knowledge in the community, we've almost reached efficient levels, like optimal levels. Although of course it's still extremely complex to get to the top. People usually know what is optimal, but when you change something like that, if you have that sort of knowledge, for example, there's a common rule called the red fives, and sometimes you have them and sometimes you don't. They're worth bonus points, and just either having those or not, it seems like a small difference, but it changes the playstyle completely. And I think the players who are most experienced are usually the ones that come out on top, which always shows in tournaments, because tournaments are usually when you don't have those red fives
Can you actually
in
explain
game mode.
the red fives in a bit more detail? I'm not familiar with them.
So basically, mahjong has 3 different suits, right?
Yeah.
The bamboos, the circles, and the characters. And you have 4 of each tile, so you have numbers 1 through 9, and the fives you have 4 of them usually, which are just normal. But there's this usual rule set that's usually the default, where you actually have one of the reds in each suit. So you have 3 reds in total, where if you have them when you win your hand, they're worth bonus points. So that seems like a very small difference, but because of how the game works and how all of its intricate pieces, just that small difference can make a lot of difference in how people play the game and who comes out on top and the strategies that are optimal.
Do you find that you have a particular play style at all? That I'm not sure, quite frankly, if play styles are even something that are really possible in
Oh
mahjong, or
yes.
if it's a type of thing where it comes down to knowledge and, I suppose, theory of what is optimal.
Right. There is somewhat of a meta in the Japanese community of like playing a specific playstyle. I don't particularly play that because I'm not super competitive. I think if I ever went that, I would definitely try to do that. But yeah, I'm just I think my playstyle is something. It's hard to get into without describing too much of of how the game works. But I try to basically go for slower hands that don't win as often, but I try to make very big, flashy hands.
So the high risk, high reward paradigm, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess. Yes. Which usually means that you're also playing very defensive.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and I guess, can you describe what playing defensive means in mahjong? That I have my own sort of concepts, but I'm curious to hear, I suppose, how you would describe it.
So I talked a little bit about how people can actually steal tiles from each other. So the way it works is if you discard the tile that someone needs to win, you have to pay the entire value of the hand yourself. So everyone starts with 25,000 points. You start with 13 tiles and you draw one. So you have 14 tiles for a single moment. If you don't win, you have to discard a tile. And if you discard a tile, people may be able to take it. So a defensive playstyle would be trying to only discard tiles that nobody can use.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody could pick it up.
But inevitably, since you have to, you have to get a winning hand yourself, that puts you in sort of a tense position of you either need to eventually discard that tile that you have a feeling someone else might need because you yourself are only one tile away, or you hold on to the tile and make it part of your potential winning hand at the risk of your opponent not throwing it because they too are playing defensive.
So yeah, that's why the game starts getting complex because yes, you're right, but the game does not consist of a single round. It actually consists of 8 at the very least. So 8 rounds at the very least. So let's say you don't win a round, it's okay because you won't lose that many points compared to if you discard the tile that someone needs, you might need to pay 8,000 points or 12,000. And again, you start with 25,000, everyone does. So if you had to pay 12,000 points in a single round, and there are 8, it would be very hard to come back. But if you don't deal in at all, and even if you don't win, it's still fine because you didn't have to pay 12,000.
Yeah,
so
figuring out ways
there's definitely a playstyle there.
That it's okay to lose the battle if you win the war.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how I usually play.
I'm going to need to actually... I've not seen any of your mahjong streams, but I'm going to have to tune into a couple of them because, like I said, I have this very basic knowledge, but I enjoy this type of game, so I definitely think it would be fun to see someone as experienced as you playing.
Mm-hmm.
So you're also into shogi and go, obviously to a lesser extent, but I suppose, is there something that you've found that is just particularly appealing to you? I guess maybe it's the type of strategy, maybe it's that all the pieces are known and that there is a way to eventually find what is optimal, or is there maybe something else that really draws you to these sorts of games?
I don't know exactly. I think what most draws me to these games, honestly, I don't know. Mahjong itself is extremely fun, but the reason I think I really stuck around was just because of the community. The community is awesome. I've met so many awesome people through the community, and I've done a lot for the community as well. I've done commentary for a lot of tournaments. I've helped in various different ways, and also by streaming the game and getting as many people into the game as I can. I think a lot of people started playing because they watched me. I can get more people into the game, and so I think I don't know, I've just stuck around the community. It's been very welcoming. I always try to support the communities that that I'm a part of. And yeah, I just had a lot of fun. I ran my own tournament for mahjong last year.
Yeah,
I got invited
DJ Chowman was actually
to
just mentioning that in the chat. I definitely want to hear about that.
So yeah, what had happened was the Our Lions team came together to raise money for Extra Life last year, and my idea was to make a tournament, a mahjong tournament, and it was like kind of opt-in, like, oh, if you're registering, if you want, you can donate $5 to charity, and actually a lot of people actually supported the charity Extra Life, and I was very grateful for that. And during the tournament running it too, we got some people donating for the cause as well. It was very nice. And it was just a lot of fun to run the tournament, see all the people competing, and I don't know, just seeing everyone come together to play mahjong. It's always a lot of fun, and that was definitely what kind of kickstarted my like mahjong tournament experience. And since then, I've commentated on a few other tournaments, and yeah, it's always a fun time.
That's fantastic. Do you think that's something that might end up becoming, an annual event?
I do think so. I don't know if we're going to be doing anything as the Iron Lions team. I'm unsure about that, but people have definitely asked me to like, oh, when is the Extra Life Open tournament again for next year? And I was like, wow, people actually want this, so I think I'll definitely do that this year again.
Yeah, I've done several Extra Life streams and fundraisers myself with other groups. For those who aren't familiar, Extra Life is a charity that raises money to help provide children in hospitals with video game equipment that basically being a kid in a hospital is rough. And they help raise money to make it so these kids are able to have something to help make them smile, and also in some cases get them games for actual therapy. That there are certain physical games like Ring Fit Adventure that can
Not
actually
only
help
that,
with
though,
physical therapy and things. Sorry, go on.
I think last year though, because of COVID-19, I think maybe it was a bit different this year. This previous year, of course. The money just went into straight to the Children's Miracle Network hospitals for them to, especially a lot of them were using those funds specifically for the COVID-19 relief. So it was a very important drive, a very important cause, and I'm very helpful. Sorry, I'm very grateful to have been able to help Extra Life like that.
Yeah, definitely a great cause. And if you end up doing such a tournament again, there's a good chance that I would want to participate.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and aside from that, I've also participated in other tournaments recently. Yostar, the publisher for Arc Knights, Azure Lane, and Mahjong Soul, which is the client we usually play. They had a tournament, and I did commentary for that, and also did the highlight video commentaries, which was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun having that experience of doing an event of that scale.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Very interesting. And we also did the East versus West tournament. That was very, very interesting to have two different teams competing. It was a different setting for Mahjong, but yeah, I get, yeah. You did ask, you did ask me some what were subjects that I could talk on forever, and Mahjong is one of those.
No, I'm glad. This is great. That this is cool. These are great stories. Getting information about the game, about the community as a whole. This is exactly the type of stuff that I want on my show. So do not worry at all. And in fact, after the show, please send me a link to that highlight video that you mentioned. I'll be sure to include in the YouTube description. That sounds awesome. I definitely want to watch it.
Mhm.
I do know one other game that you've said that you are not necessarily hyper competitive in, but that you are pretty high level when it comes to play, and that's Tetris.
Right. So I have played a lot of Tetris, and I've always loved it. I used to play it somewhat casually, just on Tetris Friends. But I've since I think it was last year I really started practicing and playing, and it was in fact my first stream as a VTuber was actually me playing Tetris, which is
Oh,
kind of interesting. And yeah, I've just always had a lot of fun playing Tetris. Community's always nice too.
yeah. Do you have a favorite iteration of Tetris? That obviously there's been so many different ones over the years. There's been, Tetris Attack. There was Tetris 99, which was basically Tetris's attempt at battle royale. Do you have a particular
Mhm.
version that you enjoy the most?
The one I've enjoyed the most was Tetra.io, which is just a web browser based Tetris. It's kind of nice. Um, uh, I guess set up for how it works competitively. The combo system. And I just really enjoyed, the whole design and the competitiveness of it, and also the community. So I usually stick to that one.
Mm. I know for myself, I played Tetris, way back on the Game Boy. That for the longest time, Tetris is actually the best-selling video game in the world because it was released on so many different platforms, and just so many iterations over the years that even to this day, it still remains, I believe, the third best-selling video game of all time in terms of units sold.
Wow, that's incredible. I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, it's certainly come a long way. Um, You also mentioned that you're into fighting games. That you mentioned that your model is in part inspired by Soul Calibur 6. I myself
Hmm.
played Soul Calibur 2 and 3 for the most part. A little bit of 4. Haven't really played 5 or 6, but actually the Soul Calibur soundtracks though are some of my personal favorites. I absolutely love the soundtracks. I think they're incredibly underrated. But in terms of the game itself, is Soul Calibur a game that you play a lot, or do you usually play other fighting games? Because I know you've mentioned several others. One I know you play a fair bit is Skullgirls.
Right. So I think, um, of course, Soul Calibur 6 was amazing. I love the game. I love the community. People from the Maryland scene are very cool. Um, the East Coast in general, people I know. Um, but Skullgirls was the first one I really got into as far as fighting games go. I picked it up during its Kickstarter campaign. I backed it, and I played ever since the beta came out, really, and I really got into it. I got really competitive in it, played, and in the Brazilian tournaments, won a few. It was really fun, and it was one of the first actual like gaming communities that I got really into, and it really shaped me. It really helped me, get to where I am because I just met so many cool people, and I learned so much, and I just had a lot of fun. Really, I guess that's when I discovered my passion just for communities and just being around people and doing stuff for for communities has always really fulfilled me. So
Mm. So I myself have not played Skullgirls a bunch. I have some friends who are really, really into it. Some friends that are actually very deep in the community. I know a couple of memes like just big band and just obviously the entire game is incredibly stylized. I love the art, and it's always
mhm.
fun to watch high level players of fighting games going at it. Do you have a particular fighter who is your favorite, or that you have as your main?
Yes. So my favorite character in Skullgirls is definitely Painwheel. I love her to death. She is so much fun. She's so much fun, in fact, that I've made a tutorial that is 2 hours and a half long, I think.
Oh my goodness,
Just
that's a
talking
deep
about
dive right there.
yeah, just talking about Painwheel, everything she does, everything, every single attack, everything. And yeah, it's just an amazing character. You mentioned the Skullgirls art being amazing. It is indeed. I think it's actually in the Guinness World Records for most hand painted frames in like a for animations in a fighting game,
Oh
which is
wow.
really impressive. It just shows how much the artists have poured their souls into this game. It's so amazing to see.
Yeah. So gosh, so I'm actually just looking up Painwheel right now. Like I said, I'm not familiar with all the characters, but so Painwheel is this just the shot I have of her here is jumping. She has this giant four-pronged. I almost want to call it a throwing star almost, but it's this giant, huge, just four-pronged blade. And then she has these bladed claws as well. A really cool mask. What about Painwheel in particular appeals to you? That was it the visuals that got you first, and then you really liked her playstyle, or is there something about her moveset and the way that her character actually plays out that appealed to you first?
So yeah, she's definitely she's got a very nice design. All the characters in Skullgirls do have amazing designs, but it was actually in most cases I am like 90% a player who the only thing I care about really is how the character actually plays. Are they fun to play? Are they interesting? And that's what got me into playing Painwheel, because she does a lot of damage. She's very mobile. She's very unique. She's got like a little like flight that she can do with the boar that's on her back. And I guess her story is also really cool. But yeah, the thing that got me into her was the moveset and the mechanics.
Nice. And certainly, if you made a 2.5 hour video on how to use her, that must go into some really significant depth of not just, all right, these are the inputs, but here's actual, chains of combinations or actual strategies. What I suppose, without giving away too many of your own competitive secrets, do you have a favorite move or I suppose move sequence of hers?
I just love her hatred install. Installs in fighting games are something that you activate and it gives you an effect that it's not really like just does raw damage at once or anything. It just changes how some of your other moves work. And her install is very cool. I just love how it works.
Can you describe it a little bit? What does it change about her?
It just makes her do a lot of damage. It changes her combos. It's just a lot of fun to combo with her hatred install activated. And when you use it, the opponent immediately cowers in fear because she becomes so powerful. You have to defend against it. It's very, very fun.
Nice. Now, so you've mentioned that communities, it just sort of holistically, is something that is very near and dear to your heart. Are there any communities that we haven't touched on yet that you want to shout out or spotlight, or that I suppose you find are good examples of just good communities as a whole?
I think lately, of course, just my community. Everyone's like a second family to me there. Everyone knows each other so well, and it's a very warm and welcoming community, and I love how it has grown. But I think outside of that, I would definitely have to give a shout out to the 0.1% theme curator community, which is like a very specific thing, but it's where I've been getting most of my games that I've been playing lately are from this curator. They're specifically games that are very hard to complete, and I've just been drawn to them really. And I joined the community, and they're very cool people. So I just want to give a shout out to them, I guess.
Yeah, so you sent me a link to this group, if I'm remembering correctly. So, and the URL was masochist.me. So, is that the
Right.
same group that you're talking about?
Yeah, it is indeed. That that's a list of extremely hard games, I guess.
So, in general, I suppose it's very interesting because games like mahjong are ones that are, you know, very set. That you have the particular game pieces, the particular rules, and I suppose frustration and the type of grinding and trial and error in mahjong is not necessarily the same as these other types of grindy, difficult games that you really like. Um, do you remember what one of the first, games of this category you played was, and what it sort of hooked you?
I think one of the first that I played that they got me like, oh my, this is really hard. And instead of going like, I hate this, I want to quit, I was like, I need to do it. It was Super Meat Boy. It's a game that
Ah,
a lot of people have played. It's a very hard platformer, precision platformer, and very few people have actually completed, 100%, done everything you can do. Because one of the hardest achievements is doing the hardest level um, in Super Meat Boy without dying a single time, and I haven't done it either. It's super hard. It's something I still need to work on, but I think that was the first one, and then I went on to play games like Celeste, which is another precision platformer that's super hard to 100%. And also Dust Force, very amazing little precision platformer as well, and just extremely hard. It's brutal. Love the music in the game too.
now you've mentioned to me before the show that Celeste actually holds a very particular place in your heart. So I have not played it, but now I have sort of the background of this. This is one of those precision platformers, a grindy, more difficult game. But what sets Celeste apart from other games for you?
Okay, so Celeste is very important because if you play the game, it's not explicit, but the story is about transgender struggles, I guess, and overcoming those struggles, and also anxiety and the doubt, I guess, and just overcoming difficulties. And I'm not. I'm trying really hard not to spoil what happens, but please play the game. It's amazing. There's a specific scene in the gondola that, honestly, if you suffer with anxiety, you're 100% gonna relate to it, and you're gonna love how Celeste deals with that issue. It's very beautiful. It touched me. The story also, goes on much beyond that. All of the chapters are very unique and interesting. And yeah, I just really love it. And it's really cool that, the story is about overcoming difficulties. Um, Not necessarily as a transgender person, but as a transgender person as well. But also, I love how the game itself is so brutal to go 100% that it does again loop back into overcoming difficulties, which is interesting.
And it's available on Steam?
Yeah, it's available on Steam, the Switch, and I think other consoles. People should definitely play it. It was also available on that itch.io pack supporting racial equality.
Ooh,
Um, yeah, that one pack that had like 5,000 games. If you got that one, you actually do own Celeste.
nice. Now, Celeste is a name that rings a faint bell to me, but I have not actually been really aware of it. So hearing you talk about it is just it's very exciting, and it's one of the things that I just love about video games that has always appealed to me. That they to borrow a phrase that I heard from someone else, when you are reading a book, you are reading the story of someone else's life. When you are watching a movie, you are watching someone else's life. And when you're hearing the music in a film soundtrack, you're hearing the soundtrack to someone else's life. But when you're playing a game, it is your life. The background music is the soundtrack to your life. That all the experiences, even if the character is not, even if it's not an RPG and it's not you making necessarily all the decisions in the game, that because you are controlling the main character, that even if you aren't exactly them, that the level of empathy that you will inherently feel for the character is going to be so much more because you are going through the struggles and challenges with them, and being able to really, overcome things. It's going to hit you harder when you actually have had a hand in it as opposed to a film or a book. And I think that's just one of the really special things about games that make them such an incredible medium, not just for entertainment, but for art as a whole.
For sure, I definitely agree, and it's I think it's something that you can always apply to your own experiences, right? Even if it's not necessarily talking about you can still apply it to all sorts of different circumstances that you find yourself in your own life.
Yeah.
And I think that's always really cool in any sort of media, really, but yeah, video games especially.
Yeah. Now, speaking of your own journey as Airi, you shared something really cool with me, and that is regarding what you called Airi 2.0.
Right, I'm so excited about it.
So, is this a new model that is in production?
So yeah, it's actually a very small redesign that I'm going to be showcasing more very soon. I think you do have the one picture of it, right?
Yes, that I'm just about to send us there, that you were kind enough to give me this piece to share with the viewers this evening, and for those who are watching later on YouTube, that basically I have the distinct honor to help introduce Airi 2.0. So, that transition was a little bit botched, but here we are. So,
yes, so
please tell us about Airi 2.0.
So I don't want to reveal too much of the lore yet. I want to get some more stuff out there. But I am so happy with how it's coming out. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. I'm really excited to share some more about it. But yeah, this is just a small little sneak peek about of how Airi 2.0 is gonna look like, and I'm so exciting. And yes, it is a new model coming. There is a new model coming. It's almost ready. I think next month we should have something more concrete that I'll be able to share. Maybe towards the end of this month I could announce it. Who knows? And I'm just really excited because it's going to definitely be very fresh for me, for everyone watching, and I think the design is. I'm really happy with how the design came out, and
yeah, the design is really interesting because it's still definitely you, but there's some really interesting changes. That there's the new bow, the new dress, but also one thing I noticed is you essentially inverted the color of your hair and your dress. That in your current model you have the deep purple dress and the lighter purple hair, whereas it's deep purple hair and a lighter purple, almost pink dress in 2.0. So obviously you like that general color palette.
yes.
Was the inversion here something deliberate, or was it something that you just sort of discovered that you liked as the concepting was going on?
So the actual main change was something that is a smaller detail than the color scheme. But yeah, I guess I was never married to having so much blue on my design. I've always been a fan of purple and pink, and that's what I've wanted on my design, and also the orchids on the dress is something that I'm really fond of.
Yeah, so you actually just answered one of the next questions I was going to have, and that was that you have, even now, a lot of flowers in your imagery and in your overlay, and I was going to ask what type of flowers, but you just said they're orchids.
So the flowers in this picture, they are orchids. I don't know. I think the ones in my stream layout and others are just just in generic. I think they're roses. Some of them, and just some other flowers and leafery. I just really like flowers. I actually have a tattoo of a flower, which is something that not a lot of people know, I guess.
Ooh. Well, breaking news here on that as well. So you said this is probably going to be seeing a bit more progress in the next month or two, and hopefully getting unveiled, I guess, probably sometime late spring, early summer.
Yeah. I think possibly next month. I'm hoping if
wow.
everything goes right with the art and other stuff I'm commissioning. I think I might be able to get it ready in the next month.
Now, is this the same artist that did your current model? So, Sarah Hana?
No, this artist that I'm working with is Buddha Raccoon. She is a Brazilian VTuber and is amazing at art. Her art is gorgeous. She was very patient with me, helping with the design, and I'm so happy with how it came out.
Yeah, like I said, it's very different, but it's still very you. So I look forward to seeing Airi 2.0 and also just any other future ones you have as well. I'm going to return us to the main screen for the time being, but thank you again for sharing that with us and for letting me, really have the privilege of helping you unveil that to the world. I can't wait to see the finished product of it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and thank you for helping me showcase it.
So, hopping back to games for a moment, you've said that indie games are a particular area of passion for you, that you have that. Well, it's strange. I suppose Skullgirls is an indie game, but it's so popular it doesn't quite feel like an indie game anymore. But
No, I think it definitely is. It's definitely an indie game. I mean, they were all kickstarted. It's a very small indie team, and it's definitely not as big as
it's
the
not
other
Street
fighting
Fighter
games.
or anything, certainly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And obviously you're playing Vault of the Void. There was The Void Rains Upon Her. The Void Rains Upon Her Heart. Do you have a particular go-to source for these types of indie games? Because one thing that you said is that curation is something that is of interest to you.
Right. So I don't know. I sign up for a lot of publishers newsletters. They just send me emails like, "Hey, we're coming out with this new game," and a lot of times they need people to showcase them, and sometimes I just randomly a friend will tell me like, "Hey, have you heard about this cool new game?" And I'm always open. I always try to take a look at all the indie developers' games because a lot of the times indie developers don't get to reach a lot of people because they don't have the funds or for any other reason, and so I like to showcase them, and I love how much they pour their hearts into their work, right?
Yeah, sure. That just when you have an independent team like that you're gonna get, I suppose, more raw passion really than something for a AAA title. And obviously that's not to say that there's anything bad about AAA titles. There's a reason that AAA titles are as successful as they are, that they have a lot of talent behind it. But when you have games that are done by these smaller teams, that they're it's like their children, really, and just the projects of passion, and you can really tell the particular effort and heart that is put into them.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So apart from the ones that I already mentioned, were there any other indie games that you've been playing recently that you'd like to spotlight?
I think that's I mean, those are the ones that have piqued my interest. Again, we touched very lightly on the Void Rains Upon Her Heart. That game is very good. If you like retro style shoot 'em ups, the game has a very good story and also has the roguelike elements of the Binding of Isaac with the art inspiration of Kirby and Undertale, which is a very cool mix.
Ooh.
And the story is really cool too. But other than that, I mean, I have a few games that I'm on the lookout for. I think tomorrow I'm gonna be showcasing another one, so that'll be exciting.
Very nice. Now, outside of games, you've told me that one of your, I suppose, more unique passions is for languages. You've said that you've done some translation work. You yourself are obviously multilingual, but I suppose when you ask someone what are things they enjoy, languages is not one of the more common answers. So please tell us, what is it about languages that appeals to you? And I suppose, how do you, or how have you gone about pursuing your passion for them?
Right. So I first learned about my love for languages around when I was 14, when I started learning French on my own out of just boredom, I guess. I was teenagers looking around for things to do, and I found Duolingo and started learning French, and thought this was a really cool experience. So I got more into it. I had always been really good at grammar, and I've always enjoyed writing, enjoyed writing short stories, poetry. Everything about writing is a lot of fun. And very early on, even as a teen, I would um, I would have some developer friends who were like, "Hey, can you proofread the script for this?" Or, "Hey, can you like, I'm writing this VN. Can you help me proofread it?" And then eventually, I guess I just got really good at English from playing video games so much um, that someone asked me like, "Hey, do you wanna help us translate some stuff for this upcoming game that we're doing?" So that's how I learned that I loved translation. And after that, I guess it was a mix of something that was viable as a career that I could pursue further on, and also something that I really, really enjoyed and that I was good at. So I just followed the path. I went to university in Rio de Janeiro, um, and it was just a lot of fun. I got to do a lot of cool things in university.
So, how many languages do you know? I would say, how many languages are you at least conversational in? So, you don't need to be totally fluent with every bit of reading and writing, but how much or how many do you have at least that basic foundation in?
Right. So Portuguese, English are I'm like completely fluent, of course. Portuguese being my native language since I am from Brazil. Then French I learned it very early on, so I am very very good at it. I'm not, of course, fluent by any means. I still need to practice more if I would ever want to get to that level. Um, but I'm very good at the pronunciation, the grammar, and holding a conversation. I can definitely do that. Japanese, though, I am able to read it. I'm able to talk to other people through text, but hearing and I mean, listening and talking back in real time is a lot harder, of course, because um, there's just a lot of vocabulary that I lack.
Mm.
So I think that would be the next step if I ever wanted to pursue more Japanese knowledge to get better at that.
Yeah, I've actually been starting to sort of dabble around in beginning to learn Japanese myself. That just for my own interest in my line of work, being able to pick up Japanese it would be very valuable to me, and it's something that I've wanted to do for a while, but have really just never had the time or circumstance to do so. But over the past couple months, I was able to learn all of the kana, so the katakana and the hiragana. I have not
Right.
embarked upon kanji at all yet, and I've been
Kanji's so
hopping
hard.
around to a couple different platforms. So I've used Duolingo for a fair bit. I used that for a week and a half, 2 weeks. I did a short trial with Rosetta Stone. I've experimented with some flashcard programs, but
Right, Anki.
there's so many options out there. have you found any particular ones to be really good? Do you find Duolingo to be good? I know that there's many different types for many different learning styles, and there's not going to be one, end all best program or solution. But I suppose, what resources have you found most useful?
So for Japanese, since it involves such a different style of learning, Duolingo, at least the last time I used it, it wasn't that great for Japanese specifically because of the way they taught the kanji, and so there's certain irregularities when you should be using kanji or teaching kanji that I don't agree with. So I usually don't recommend Duolingo for Japanese. The ones I recommend are just straight up grammar books, like Taikin's Guide to Japanese. There's imabi.net, which is a very, very comprehensive grammar guide to Japanese. They go into stuff that you wouldn't realistically need for like even being fluent. You would need it's stuff for like I don't know, like doctorates. So they go all the way. So it's very comprehensive. There's also Wanikani for vocabulary. They help teach a lot of vocabulary, and there's also Kanji Tree. Kanji Tree is an app for Android. I don't believe it's actually on iOS, but for Android, Kanji Tree is amazing. It teaches reading comprehension. Actually has a system for writing the kanji, and there are a lot of ways to organize them. You can organize them by JLPT, which is the Japanese language proficiency test, and there's also by year, like grade 1 Japanese, so the way they would learn it in school, and also by frequency. So it's a lot of stuff. Again, you picked a subject that I can talk forever
Hey,
about.
that's what I try to do. That's my goal.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you'll have to actually send me the names of those particular language books, because I have another friend who's been teaching himself Japanese for just a year, doing a little bit a day with flashcards and other things, and he also said in the end that for Japanese at least, that books are generally going to be more useful than pretty much any digital resource that he's encountered so far.
Yeah, but those two that I mentioned, Taikim's Guide to Japanese and Imabi, they are both actually on the internet. It's just that they are so comprehensive, it's very good. But yeah, for sure, I will definitely send those your way, and then you can put them down below in the description.
Goodness, I need to start figuring out some sponsors for this for all the different things that I'm plugging.
And as far as other cool stuff that I've done with languages, of course, I went to university for translation in Rio, and I enjoyed a lot of it. I've worked on a lot of games doing translation, proofreading, visual novels, a lot of other games. And I've also worked on some gonna be a little bit nerdy here. It was how would you say it? Computational linguistics, which is basically using let's say a database of language to teach a computer how to understand the language structure and the grammar and all those things, to then use that for many other purposes. So for example, machine translation or voice recognition or
basically this is AI education.
Yeah, it is. It is literally teaching the computer how to understand language, and I got to work with that in university, and it was very nice, a very cool experience. That it's just not every day they do get to work with AI, I guess, to teach it how to learn the language.
That's fantastic. So I take it you were not in charge of programming this, but that the work you did with translation and with language comprehension, it helped inform the programmers of how to program the AI, or was it that the AI was already programmed and you went basically in a back and forth with the AI for it to collect data?
So what we actually did is, first the data was collected from natural sources. We always use natural sources so that we don't get made-up language that doesn't really exist in the real world. So first we had to collect that from like a various a number of sources like newspapers, etc., books, anything really, and then we had to annotate it all. So we had to annotate, oh, this is a noun, this is an adjective, this is a verb, and then we had to work out all the relationships between all of the words, so how they interact with each other. So for example, oh, this is an adverb, and there are many other classifications of grammar that I won't get into. That's called syntax, and then yeah, I was not in charge of doing anything related to programming. Our university was actually working together with IBM, which is very cool.
Ooh.
And yeah, we were just basically, they were developing the algorithm to try to learn the language with the database that we had, and then we would see, oh, this is a mistake. The program does not understand how these words together, what they actually are. So we need to try to inform the programmers how to fix the algorithm so that it understands it. And that was a really long effort. I think it's still ongoing even after I left university. I think they're still ongoing.
Oh, wow. So in that case, you were almost sort of quality assurance testers.
Sort of. But we are also, since we are providing the data set and curating it, I guess those kind of another part of it. We're actually
they did. You were doing a lot of different things there.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, I'm very much a nerd myself, and just thinking about it, that everything you said makes total sense to me, but just I can only imagine what that must have been like. It must have been really, really neat. That I myself, I like to think I'm pretty good with English, and I took 3 years of Spanish throughout middle and high school, and I was not very good at it. I wasn't terrible at it, but it was not my strongest subject. Let's just put it that way. And I guess I haven't put the time and effort really into learning other languages, but I know that it's something that I want to do. It's something I want to change about myself. That Japanese is definitely sort of that first one because it aligns with a lot of things for me personally and professionally. But I hope to eventually, go back and pick up Spanish, possibly Chinese, possibly French. I'm not really sure, but just I have so much respect for people who are multilingual because I know it is I think that languages are one of the most complex things that a person can learn. And the ability to learn and manage the knowledge for multiple languages, anyone who can do that is just incredible in being able to do that. And it seems, I think a lot of it comes down to learning early, and I'm a bit sad that I feel like I missed the boat, so I have to make up ground. It's I don't think it's impossible.
You're actually correct. And sorry, not to cut you. Just
No,
I got
please.
excited again about language. You're correct. It is about learning early, and that's why I think French stuck with me the most because I learned it early. It's really hard not to get super into it, but there is a something that we call the critical learning period, which is basically, how can children learn, for example, these super complex languages to us, right? Like, Japanese, Chinese, and Finnish, I don't know, these super hard languages. It's because children are just really, really good at learning languages, and after a certain age, it becomes way harder to learn them.
Yeah, and also just immersion is key. That the way that you learn your first language is because it is the only way to communicate, and that by hearing the language being spoken around you for the first several years of your life, you naturally absorb it, and it just the brain is able to connect the dots of, oh, this is how sentence structure works. It even, like, I was never really taught sentence structure for English. It's not really something that was taught in the schools that I went to, that you learn the parts of grammar, that you learn what is a verb, what is a noun, what is an adjective, and all that. But the syntax, like you said earlier, is not really something that is taught through schools, because it is something that is picked up naturally. And that syntax is really the most difficult part, because it's that just finesse, those details of how you speak, how you phrase, how you communicate, that is so particular to each language that a book or a program really is not able to accurately convey and teach as well as simply living in it. That I've heard that essentially, if you were to go to another country and live in an area of that country that speaks the language you want to learn, and that there is no, in my case, English. So if I were to go to Japan and go to a town that is just, has very few English speakers, or at the very least doesn't have a lot of easily accessible English. So, all the signs are in Japanese, all the menus are in Japanese, that living 6 months in that environment would teach me more than multiple years of course taking, because just the process of immersion and necessity really is able to be a better teacher and a more thorough teacher than a book or even a class.
Yeah, and that is 100% correct. And even though a lot of the times you won't get, the textbook knowledge of how a language works, speaking, even if there are a lot of people who know how to, for example, talk and understand Chinese, but they don't know how to write or read it, is a common example that I've met a lot of people, and they've told me that before. And yeah, it's definitely because, if you're immersed in that and you need to do it, you're going to eventually find a way to do it, right? Either you learn it, or you find some way to understand even little bits of it, or communicate, or you just, since you're surrounded by it, you just pick it up much faster. Which is why I think, even though I didn't have formal education to learn English at such a young age, I learned English very fast because I was always playing video games and consuming that media.
Yeah.
And I was just surrounded by the internet in English.
Yeah, they did just... As someone who is monolingual in English, you, in my opinion, are perfectly fluent. That just, in what I've seen from your streams, and obviously just from our conversation today, that you have a firm grasp of the language, and it's kind of neat that video games helped with that.
For sure. And there are other aspects of language as well that, there's just so much to it, right? There's writing, there's, of course, translation, which is like a whole other branch of it. There's linguistics, which is, analyzing languages in general, how they work, right? Like, how does, for example, language learning that we're talking about, like how do children learn languages? How does it work? Why is it harder for adults to learn languages than it is for children? And there is just so much to it. There's creative writing, like how do you tell a story? What is the most effective way? What are, we also have the grammar and the syntax that we were talking about. There's computational linguistics, which is what I was doing. There's social linguistics. There's psycholinguistics. There's everything. There's so much to it, and I love it all. And it just has always been my passion. I've always loved it. And when I got into university, it was just like an all-you-can-eat buffet. Just so much stuff out there.
Do you think you could ever see yourself teaching languages?
I have already. I had the opportunity
there you go.
to. I had the opportunity both to teach English in Brazil to people. Ooh, sorry, there's an alarm here. Let me turn it off. And I also had the opportunity of teaching Portuguese to Haitian refugees in Brazil, and that was a really cool experience because I got to directly help my community, and the Haitian refugee community in São Paulo, the city where I was born, and that was just a very cool experience. And I could see myself returning to language university in the future, but right now I'm just really focused on VTubing.
Well, speaking of focusing on VTubing and the future, could you tell us a bit about the types of content that you're looking to start doing? Because obviously, you already do a lot. You do, mahjong. You have your indie games. You have your difficult, grindy games. But you've told me that there's several other areas of content creation that you really want to start getting into.
Right. I wanted to get into doing some YouTube content. I wanted to, I don't know, I might even try to record some stuff today to post on YouTube. I want to learn video editing. I also want to learn actually how to do like song mixing, like record covers. I think that's really cool too. And yeah, I want to continue doing, for example, commentary for mahjong tournaments. I love doing it. I love, casually playing mahjong, just having the community there, doing something for the community, and also streaming a lot. But the new stuff I want to do is definitely the YouTube content for indie games, like reviews. I want to start a Steam curator page to review some indie games. Um, and I want to do some more video content and also do some music.
So for content creation content curation in particular, what would be the Airi curation? Would you be looking for just indie games as a whole, or would you be looking at a particular genre?
I think indie games in general, but I think it's just like I think the biggest thing about curators and reviewers is you get to like kind of look at their curations and see what their taste is, and if you see it aligns with yours, then whenever a curator or a reviewer, like for example, if you're watching a movie reviewer, right, and they say all these things about a certain movie they really liked and they agree completely, so you know that this person has their thoughts aligned with yours. So when they come out and they say, "Oh, I watched this movie and it was really great. You should all watch it," then you're much more likely to try to watch that movie, right? Because oh, they had all these thoughts about my previous movie that I loved, and now they're recommending me this, so I would probably like it. And so I want to try and get that experience. Try to help people find more games to enjoy. I want to try to bring to the spotlight little hidden gems.
Fantastic. Would you ever have interest in, I suppose, so your interests aren't really so much in developing that you wouldn't want to necessarily create your own indie game, but I get the feeling, well, no, you've already mentioned that you've done translation for other games, so I guess, does translation for games strike you as something that you want to continue doing, or do you feel that it was nice to do once, but it's not something that you would want to do regularly?
No, it's definitely something that I've done in the past and I really liked it. And my passion for language, as you saw, is like unending. I really love doing it. I take pride in the work I do. I think I do it very well. I always love doing it. It's very nice to work with game developers, and it's always nice to work for financial reasons, of course.
For sure.
So it's definitely something very nice that I can definitely see myself doing in the future. Would love to one day, do something for a bigger project, but I'm very happy just doing stuff for indie games as well.
When it comes to recorded content, you mentioned that content creator that goes by Northern Lion is someone that you really look up to and see as sort of an inspiration. Could you tell me a bit about them and their content and how it really, I suppose, resonated with you?
So I started watching Northern Lion a really long time ago when I learned about the Binding of Isaac. It's people may not realize how old the game is, but Northern Lion has been creating videos for it for such a long time, and he has had such discipline in playing the game pretty much every day. I think he still releases videos to this day, ever since Binding of Isaac's release, daily. Just and his commentary is also really interesting. It's something that inspires me to the way he commentates and always has something to say, I guess. Um, oh,
Oop, yeah, sorry. Little blip on my end there.
no worries. And yeah, the way he does his commentary is very interesting because he can always talk on and on and on about stuff, and I find that particularly hard thing to do. It's really hard to constantly talk about stuff when there's not much going on in the game, or it's stuff that he has done over like 1,500 episodes on the Binding of Isaac, but somehow he just can always talk
Always
about
able to fill the
something.
dead space, never have dead air. That's rule
Exactly,
number one of
exactly.
radio and of just broadcast as a whole.
And yeah, that's something I got to experience when I was doing commentary for tournaments. Was the dead air that sometimes happens when you're commentating, and that's something that is kind of hard to overcome, right? You want to always be talking, especially in commentary for tournaments. You don't want to have any awkward dead air. But yeah, also I find it really inspirational, that kind of commentary. It's something I want to learn how to do and get better at. But also just, his discipline and also the style of content. So not the style, but more like the games he plays are very in line with me. So I've always, um, since I've watched him rise from, the start of his The Binding of Isaac series, which was, I don't know, like over 6 years ago. Um, it's really inspiring because he has grown so much, right?
Yeah.
Now he is a gigantic streamer and also has a massive YouTube following.
Mm.
So I find it really cool to have seen all that growth.
So, on the topic of commentary as a whole, I'm not sure how the commentary was structured for the tournament that you covered, but as sort of a rule of thumb in the sports community, when you have multiple commentators, you have one that's known as the play-by-play and one that is the color
Yes.
commentator.
Yeah, we had that as well.
All right, yeah. I guess, which role did you occupy? My guess is you would be play-by-play.
Yes, I was play by play. I was play by play on the games I commentated for Yostar for the Ox Cat Football Minor Oxier Power Cup. I still have it in me because that's just how much I said it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It was a lot of fun. And yeah, it was definitely very interesting being the play-by-play because I never had it quite organized like that for the previous tournaments I ran, and I also streamed and did commentary for it. We kind of just did it. And since they were very long, it was just two commentators. We weren't swapping commentators or anything.
Mm.
Eventually got to a point where we were both tired, and
Yeah,
eventually there
it
was
takes
a
a
bit
lot of
of that air.
stamina.
Yeah, you definitely need a lot of stamina because we were doing 6 matches. No, I think it was 5 matches every day, and that took about like 6 hours. So I imagine just talking and talking and talking 6 hours in a row. It's
Yeah, I
really
hope
hard.
you had, something for your throat to make sure you didn't lose your voice.
Yeah, yeah. We had a few breaks in between the matches of like 5, 10 minutes. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's definitely something very exciting to do. I love doing commentary. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I suppose for anyone who's listening and isn't familiar, for when we say play-by-play and color commentary, essentially the play-by-play is the person of the two commentators who's going to be more focused on analytics, who's going to be more focused on saying what is being done in the game in a more technical sense. They're the ones that are going to be having a lot of information, whereas the color commentary is going to be, as the name would suggest, coloring everything by sort of making commentary of like, oh, this puts so and so in a rough position, or that was a really strong move made by such and such. They have the upper hand now. That they help in a way sort of translate, I suppose, the play-by-play for more of the layman, but also to help create more drama, I suppose. That the play-by-play really provides the information, the building blocks of everything, and then play-by-play weaves a story around the information that is provided by play-by-play.
Yeah, and we had that, and I was doing the play-by-play, and that was a very fun experience for sure.
Yeah, and it's something that if you can find a good co-host, that's why you see in the sporting world in particular that when two commentators work well together, that they will be sort of paraded around, and you'll have these sort of teams that go around and are known for doing, lots of high-level events, and they can do football and basketball and hockey and whatnot. And as long as you have the two people that are working well together, that it can be just an enormous thing for someone who is listening, because it adds so much to the I almost said performance. it adds so much to the game.
Indeed a performance.
Yeah, so it's a performance on the commentator's part, for sure. Yeah, and it adds a lot to the viewing experience.
And it's something that is very interesting. It's really like an art, because you have to do so many things that people don't really realize.
Oh yeah. Because you've usually got like producers in your ear.
Yeah, so I did have an experience in KuroCon. It was an online convention where I got to commentate the finals of KuroCon. It was very interesting to have the producers in my ears, and like obviously no one can hear that, but they're like, hey, okay, and I'll segue into the brackets, for example, and then I was like, okay, so let's take a look at the brackets to see how our players have performed. And that was just a very fun experience that I had never had before, and
yeah,
it was very fun to have that. And but it's also very interesting. We were talking about the performance earlier. That so much goes unseen, or people don't really realize that we have to, for example, you have to be short. You got to be more like succinct, I guess. You got to be like sometimes straight to the point when you don't have as much time, especially in something that's volatile, that a very extreme hype situation could come up at any moment.
Yeah.
So you gotta make sure you have time for that if it arises.
But then at other times you need to take it slow and draw things out for time.
So, and yeah, that's another thing. You gotta tell a story, right? You wanna try to keep people engaged, and the way you do that is by like kind of having the narrative. So I always try to say like, oh, this hand could go all the way and then become like such a flashy hand. It's all about the draws that we're seeing here, and there's also the aspect of when it's a tournament, you have the aspect of so and so performed like this in the top 16, but now they're here in the finals, and we're going to be seeing here if they're managed to win this hand that could change the whole thing, and rocket them into the top 4 for the finals, and so and so. And it's just very fun. It's fun for me, and I like pulling it off is very fulfilling, because it makes it interesting to people. And one of the biggest compliments that I got was that someone said, well, I don't really know exactly what's going on, but Airi commentating makes me just be interested in it. So that was really fun.
That really is just the ultimate compliment for a commentator of, I don't know what's going on, but you make it sound so great that I keep tuning in anyways. So I like to create sort of an art challenge every week. So if there are any artists in the chat, my challenge this week is draw Airi broadcasting, commentating. So I want to see her with one of those, the broadcaster headsets with the little mic and everything. So I want to see hype Airi commentating a tournament.
Wow, if that happened, that would be really cool. I can definitely see that. Let's see if an artist can pull that off.
Yeah, well, actually, maybe that's something for Airi 2.0. To see if you can get yourself a broadcaster headset accessory.
That'd be kind of interesting.
Because then you can actually approach other places like, okay, I can commentate, but I can commentate, in character with the model and have the little headset and everything. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I don't know how technically viable it would be, but I can dream, can't I?
Yeah, you can. That's something to consider. I don't know. I think there have been advancements being made to 3D art. So it's something that could be a possibility. Who knows?
And I suppose the big question is, when are we gonna get a mahjong tile ASMR stream?
Hmm. Soon.
I'm just joking. Like it seems like something that
you
might
actually
do, but...
you actually asked the question that a lot of people ask. A lot of people want that, and I've been juggling a lot of things, but I guess ASMR is something that I would like to do. A lot of people say they really like the mahjong tile clacking. When you're getting replacement tiles, yeah. Because the reason why I don't do it is because my mahjong set came with an extra tile. So it came with an extra tile. So I have 5 of a kind, and I have 3 of a kind for another one.
No.
So it was wrong. So there's one tile that makes everything impossible.
Now, is it a traditional set in terms of appearance, or did you get a custom set that has particular designs?
No, it's just a straight up traditional set. If people even want to see which one I got, it's the Yellow Mountain Imports. Ricci Mahjong's a very popular one because it comes with like a little case that you can carry your set in.
Yeah.
It's very practical, and it's just a default set. It does also have the flowers present in American Mahjong and other variations of Mahjong. Even though we don't use it, they are still there and they're very pretty.
That's nice.
And I do like them. They do make the tile noises, and I love just like taking them out, mixing them up and then just rearranging them back in their case. It's actually something super relaxing to do.
Yeah, it is a very just soothing sort of zen type of thing to just, rummage around the tiles, listen to the clacking, then arrange them in the walls or put them back in the case. It is just simple and visceral and satisfying.
For sure. Just the fact that you're organizing it and that it makes the little sounds, it's very nice.
A Lolly Dragon says, "Good girl Airi gets a faulty set and still recommends it to people."
Yeah, I mean it is a good set. A lot of people have had good experiences with it. It's just that like I never got around to contacting them because I've just been juggling so many things. But I do just need to contact them and be like, hey, can you just like send me a singular tile that I need?
And stuff like that is even I know is pretty common, that you'll have manufacturing or packing defects, that maybe one tile will come cracked, or that you'll have one missing or like misprinted or something like that. So they usually are very good about sending replacement tiles when you get in touch with them. So I'm sure you'll be able to get things settled pretty quickly.
Yeah, DJ Chalman says that he also has a set for them. Yeah, it's because this is one of the sets that like pretty much everyone in the Mahjong community, like if someone asks like, hey, I want a Mahjong set, which one should I get? It's going to be that one.
Yeah, it sounds like sort of the go-to simple set that if you're not looking for something that is, personalized or has a flashy design or anything, that it's a good, simple, reliable set.
Yeah, there is one set that I'm like, it's just like my like consumerist dream that I will never buy because it's like way too expensive to justify, but it's so pretty. And it's a special mahjong set that is it's based on Toho, so it has all of the Toho characters.
Oh wow!
And it's so cute, it's so pretty. It has all the Toho characters. It's so nice, but it costs like 500 USD plus the import taxes
and shipping. And tiles are heavy,
shipping.
So shipping costs are going to be high.
Yeah.
Would you ever make a custom set, maybe using emojis from your Discord server?
Maybe there are a few tiles that can like have sort of characters on it, so possibly. But there's not that much variation that can be done with the bamboo circles. Maybe it's definitely a possibility. It's something that could be fun. Maybe if it's like available, if something I can do digitally first, I would definitely give a shot at it. As far as custom mahjong stuff goes, I do know that you can make custom voice packs for a mahjong client, and we're actually discussing that in the Discord today. I may actually just make that.
Oh, that's neat.
Because when you're playing mahjong, whenever you take a certain action, you have to say, for example, pawn, chi, kan,
Yeah.
richi, ron, tsumo, and all of those I could voice over, and that's something that's I find really cool too. I like doing voice work. I find it really interesting.
Yeah,
A lot of things that I like dabbling into and learning more about.
Yeah, that'd be super neat. The Airi mahjong voice pack.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. That'd be kind of cool.
So, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but this has been so much fun. I do have some last questions. They're ones that I like to ask all my guests because I find them to be really fun personality questions. So, starting from the top, what is your favorite meal? So, it doesn't have to be the meal that you would necessarily eat every day, but if you're treating yourself, what is the just, that meal that you really love every time you have it, and it can be the food and the drink. It could be something that's homemade. It could be from a restaurant. Anything at all.
Pudding. I just love pudding.
Pudding. Okay. Particular
Yeah, I just
flavor
love
of pudding, or just really any?
I don't know, just like any pudding. Pudding is just great. Pudding is amazing. If I were to choose something savory, it would have to be chicken stroganoff, though.
Ooh.
Chicken stroganoff that I like to make it at home. It's a Brazilian kind of tradition. Not really like from Brazil, but in Brazil, it's like we eat it a lot. We make it a lot at home. It's very simple to make. It's very delicious.
Yeah, because
I
there was a time in my life where I started to get into cooking and quickly realized I wasn't into it. But one of the few dishes I learned how to make was a really nice beef stroganoff. And
yeah, stroganoff is so good.
I guess what makes stroganoff so nice is that the sauce is just a little bit thicker. It's a bit creamier because you're putting in flour or something to help really thicken up whatever broth or sauce you have to work with, and it is really nice and savory. And you put in some vegetables along with the meat, and it's really good.
I usually don't thicken it. It's although it's still like pretty thick. The way we do it was we mix like tomato sauce and a heavy cream, and that makes just like a very very nice sauce. And then you just have like very I mean, I guess it is very well seasoned in the sense that it's just like salt and black pepper, but it still just tastes amazing.
So,
and we usually eat it with just.
So DJ Chowman actually just put in the chat, Brazilian stroganoff is very different. So
Yeah.
Could you actually explain those differences to me?
I don't know the other one, but I suppose it's a bit different from the other ones. We usually eat it with rice and potato sticks, like very thin ones, not really like French fries. So it's really potato sticks. It's like something very specific.
Yeah.
Because then you get like the creaminess of the sauce, you get the protein, and then you have the crunchiness of the potato sticks. It's like a very like delicious combination that just always feels good when I eat it. Tastes great. I love it.
That's fantastic. Do you drink tea, coffee, both or neither? And if you do drink them, how do you take them?
So I do drink both of them, and I love both of them for different occasions, I guess. Coffee I drink more for the caffeine. I like having it half and half with creamer. I do also like frappuccinos, I guess. This is something I sometimes get when I'm like, I don't know, like at a bookstore. I'll have some.
I'm looking forward to when we can just
coffee.
go to cafes and bookstores again and just order a nice frappuccino or something like that. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be great. And tea, I like variety of tea. I usually like black tea with milk, or especially with condensed milk is something I really like. I like to make it where it's not too hot, because if you make black tea too hot, this is something, this is something specific that you like. Like this person has made a lot of black tea because they know these things. Is if you make it too hot, then the tea becomes too bitter, and then it gets like kind of like the bitter aftertaste, and I don't really like that. So it can be too hot when you brew it. So.
Do you have a favorite tea brand?
Not really. I don't think that's like. I haven't really noticed enough to like say like no. I'll only drink from this brand. No, I don't. I don't have that. No. And apart from that, I like those like more berry, more floral teas. They're also delicious. And minty tea is good. Green tea.
Yeah,
like them all.
One of the first guests actually no, it was my first guest. VTuber by the name of Lane Blanc. She is a tea connoisseur, so if you ever see one of her streams, that you can get her to talk tea very easily.
I see.
Is there something that people don't know about you that you could share? So it can be something very small, but I guess for anyone who's in the chat who may have been to all your streams in the past, what is some small detail about you that just maybe has never come up before that they can walk away with, and that I know everyone in the audience will learn at least one new thing about you tonight?
Okay, I had forgot what I had planned for this question, but then I just remembered it. So, when I was 16, I got into a group effort to help catalog a native Angolan language.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so we were in contact with a few people from Angola, and they were helping us learn the language so that we could then describe it. Describe its grammar and the vocabulary we learned, and so that we could keep it from. Just like have a record of it.
Yeah, that's so neat. Was that
I don't think anyone else knows that. What do you mean by an extended effort?
So, I guess, how long did you all spend cataloging the language?
I was working with them for about 3 months. It was it was like from a Facebook group that I participated a lot in. And yeah, it was just very interesting. I got to learn about them. I also talked to these people because one interesting thing about Angola is that they also speak Portuguese, even though it's a slightly different Portuguese. They do also speak Portuguese. But yeah, it was just very interesting to learn their actual native language.
That's so neat, and I guess that's just yet another language that you've worked with.
Yeah, funny that it's related to languages, right?
Yeah.
The actual language that we were cataloging was Kimbundu.
Kimbundu?
One of their national languages. Yeah, Kimbundu.
That's so neat. Well, so are there now published works or resources now that you can point to and say I worked on that? Like you don't need to say the exact ones now, but are they out there?
Yes, actually, and same for that one about computational linguistics, working with IBM.
That's so cool. It's always neat to be able to say, like, I worked on that. My name is in the credits, as it were.
Yeah, for sure.
What are your goals for?
They're also
sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that, relating to that, there are also some games on Steam that I can say that yeah, I worked on this, but I can't actually say the names because it would completely dox me.
for sure, and we definitely don't want that. So, what are your goals for 2021? We're obviously into March, but it's still pretty early in the year. So, you've said that you have your aspirations for these new types of content, but do you have any, I suppose, specific goals in mind?
I really want to debut Airi 2.0. I want to keep growing my channel, keep growing my community. I do want to eventually, when we get a bit closer, try to make a push for partner, as many of my friends have done, and it has inspired me to do the same. I do want to deploy my website. I recently bought a domain and I set up custom email and all that fun stuff. And now I'm looking at deploying a website. I want to put stuff in there, of course, make it really neat. Talk about my content and also other things of interest. I want to get the scene curator going. Review lots of games and try to get into a good rhythm of the YouTube content, right? I want to start making more YouTube content and more videos, and I want to get at least if I got at least a single cover out this year, that would just be really good.
Ooh.
I would love that.
Do you have a particular song in mind, or would you want to keep that a surprise?
I think I would like to keep that a surprise, but I think
All right.
you guys can expect something related to Magical Girls.
Ah, of course. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to it. So, Airi, what does being a VTuber mean to you?
To me, being a VTuber, being so community-oriented, to me, it's just being part of the community, really. Being part of the VTuber community. To me, when I started it, I guess it was about the model, but there are a lot of people who don't have models, and they're also in the VTuber community, so I think they're super valid as well. And it's just really nice. I've always loved doing it ever since I started. The only regret I have with VTubing, as I always say, is not being able to not being able to, but not having started any sooner.
Yeah, I've said plenty of times before on previous episodes of this show that what really got me to fall deep into the rabbit hole enough to want to start this show was the community. That the first thing obviously was just the talent, the VTubers that I saw. That's the start of it, and that's your first step in. But then seeing just all of the clippers, the artists, the different content creators, and then the community itself, and how just frankly wholesome and supportive everyone is. That just there's a lot of negative stigmas that are commonly associated with internet communities, and particularly with behavior towards streamers. And in a case where you have people who are streaming behind a mask of a model, there was almost a fear for me at the outset that people might treat VTubers as less than human, because there's that disconnect of, all right, the person, we all know that that the magical girl Airi is not the same as the person behind Airi. We all know that the little shark that is Gargura is not the person behind Gargura, and that I worried, would that result in the community potentially being, more toxic or less considerate than one might be for a streamer when you can actually see their face, and that there is that innate literal view of humanity. And I found it to be quite the opposite. That just anytime a VTuber tweets out, hey everyone, I'm not going to be streaming today, feeling a bit under the weather, that you can never see someone tweeting, oh, well, you should just get over it. How could you do that? Every time someone says, I'm a little under the weather, all the responses are, feel better, don't push yourself, take care of yourself. That everyone is so caring, that even though there isn't, that even though there is the veil of the model, that if anything, the VTuber community is more aware and more considerate of the human that is the streamer than you see for traditional streamers. And I think that's just a really big part of why I wanted to become a larger part of the community, and why I wanted to start the show, because there is that consideration, there is that acknowledgement of humanity.
Yeah, it's something that is very, hope. Like, it fills me with hope for internet communities and everything. And it's something that I cherish greatly. I want to foster more of that. I want to nurture that sort of behavior and try to spread it even beyond the VTuber communities. I have seen some bad stuff, but whenever there's bad stuff, like there's like one bad person saying something, and there's like literally everyone else saying, "Oh, screw that person."
Yeah.
Yeah, just like, no, they're wrong. You're super valid. You're amazing. Take a break, or do anything you need to get back on your feet. Take all the time you need, and we hope you feel better. Have some hugs, etc.
Yeah.
It's always like so great and nice to see.
Yeah, and just like, especially on Twitter, which just as a platform is so notorious for being toxic, that the VTuber community has carved out its own little happy niche, and it's the only part of Twitter that I care to occupy.
For sure, for sure.
So do you have any upcoming collaborations or projects you want to spotlight before we head out? Anything, I suppose, like games that you're playing in the next couple weeks, or things that you want to tease out?
Saturday, tomorrow, of course, we're going to be playing a cool new game that the developers were so kind to allow me to play their beta. It's called Kickbot. It's a 2-button precision platformer, and it seems really, really fun. I have not played it yet. I have seen various GIFs of it. It seems really nice, and the developers seem super passionate about their games too. So I'm excited to play that. And then I think Sunday is gonna be more of a chill, maybe just chatting, just being super low key and comfy. I think it's gonna be fun.
Awesome. Well, Airi, thank you so much for being here with me this evening. This has been so much fun. I think this might be my longest episode ever because, we just got talking and we kept going, and it was a great time. I hope you've enjoyed yourself tonight.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me and being such a good host.
Hey, it's the least I can do. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you to all of your viewers, all your friends who tuned in as well to support me and you. Once again, I'm Jay. This is Airi. I have shows here once a week, usually on Friday evenings. Follow me on Twitch at Vtuber Talk. Follow Airi at Iron TV. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed yourselves. Have a great evening, everyone, and we will see you next time.
See you next time. Bye-bye, everyone. Can I hear us?
And by the way, I'm so sorry. I forgot to mention, we're going to be raiding. We're raiding Airi's friend tonight, so stick around till the end of the theme music. We're about to be raiding, make sure, Yuma Yamano. Goodness. Yes, we have the raid prepped, so stick around. I should have said that before I went to the end screen, but oh well. We do it live here. Yes, it is Yuma Yamano's debut, so please give her a warm welcome.